the next layer, I would say. So you just heard that we are attempting to put something down on paper that describes how we will be with each other, how we will treat each other as we work to fulfill our mission. But the challenge, as you know, that we have is it's overwhelming how many things are going on in this congregation, right? It's overwhelming. And if you're new to the congregation, it's particularly overwhelming. But even if you've been here a long time, we still have people questioning what's going on, who do I talk to, where do I go? So even longtime members have a challenge, and we have a challenge of keeping people informed about what's going on and gathering congregants' input as to how we fulfill our mission, right? We want to hear from everybody what your thoughts are on how we should go about fulfilling our mission. So to that end, you've just heard about how we will be with each other, how we will treat each other, and those are the rules of how we'll act when we're together. So now the question is, how do we come together? And in what ways, and how do we make sure that everyone knows how we've structured ourselves in order to fulfill our mission for this congregation? We have a mission statement. And then, so in other words, how are we governing ourselves? That's what governing means, right? Governance means. Now, let me be perfectly clear. First and foremost, we are governed by our bylaws and our policies, both of which right now you can find on the website. That is not changing. That will not change. That is how we are governed. But recently we underwent somewhat of a structural change. We adopted the model of a leadership team, right? But how does that leadership team fit into the structure of how we are attempting to carry out our mission? How does that fit in? Where does anyone walking through our doors find that kind of information? I bet you couldn't tell me, right? So how do they know how we govern ourselves and who to talk to based on their interests and their passions? When somebody walks through the door and you say, yeah, we do social justice, and they say, well, who do I talk to, where do I go, who do I turn to? All right, so in order to communicate this, all of this information, the board has been undertaking an effort to develop something that a lot of congregations have, actually, and that is a governance handbook, okay? Nothing too, miraculous about it. It basically is, okay, how do we do things around here, and let's get it on paper so that anybody walking through the door can be told and can easily access it. So this is a really bad cover that I hopefully that will not be the end cover of this product, because I'm not artistic in any way, so if anyone has good vision for that, let me know. All right, so I'm just going to kind of run through what we envision will be in this governance handbook. Hello. Uh-oh. Hello.
Just use the arrow.
I am using the arrow.
Yeah, I'll get it. You cross that first.
All right. So anyway, so while she does that, I'll give a quick description. So basically, in this handbook, there will be we'll explain roles and responsibilities of things within the. We'll describe how we have our bylaws, our policies, our procedures. We'll describe how we create policies. We'll describe the distinctions between our committees, our teams, our task forces. We'll describe how we intend to communicate amongst leadership team, board, committees, teams, all of that. We will provide you with, okay, there we go. Okay, so, we're gonna flip, yeah, all right, so, whoa.
It's a little wow. What do you need?
Okay. So these are the first things, and then I just want to send, and then we will have some addendums, which literally will be, you'll be able to see what are, all in one place. It's like one-stop shopping, right? Again, a lot of this is already on our website, but one-stop shopping for somebody new or somebody long-term like me. So all of these things, our listing of all our policies, a lot of this still needs a lot of work. Our policies need to be looked over, revamped. We need to add some policies. And let me also point out that this is going to be very much an evolving handbook, right? Because as we evolve, as our structure might change, as our teams and committees change, that's all fine. We can still do that. I'm going to just talk quickly, though, about two things that will be in the handbook. One is our structure, and the other will be this is something new, our governance and ministry cycle. That's something that the board has been working to. So here's just, I know you can't read this, it's okay, you don't need to, right? You don't really need to. What's most important about this visual, and it's just a visual, is that the congregation sits at the top, right? The congregation really drives everything we do. The board is elected by the congregation to help to steer what we do. We have a leadership team model right now. This is the part that was in. So we have our leadership team. Within our bylaws, we have committees that are set up by the bylaws, but then we also have some teams that are strictly based on the passions and the interests of the congregation. So our teams are, I'm not going to go into them, but so our teams fall under one of the leadership team members strictly for a chance to, the left hand knows what the right hand's doing. Just strictly for communication and understanding and direction, right? Okay, so we have teams, we have committees by the bylaws, and we also have task forces. Task forces are things that need to get done, but they have a start date and they have an end date. Now, we have our facilities expansion team that would like to have an end date, but they had a start date of 2013 and they're still going. So it doesn't mean that it's a short thing, it just means there is an end date at some point. So this is just, and I know a lot of people really cringe when they see org charts like this. We are not an organization, we're not a business, but as a visual for somebody just to understand, what teams do we have out there? If somebody were, you could point them directly if they said, I'm really interested in social justice. You could say, yeah, we have a social justice team. See, here it is. And within this handbook, all the teams will be listed, members will be listed, the mission of the team will be listed, so it will be, again, a resource. It's a resource. So that is just, like I said, it's an evolving structure. Please don't be upset about the fact that it is an org chart. It's just a structural chart. It's a visual. Now, the best thing about this structure, however, is the fact that the board in this structure can remain as a vision and strategy-minded body, as it was intended to be. But that strategy and vision work, it was never and will never be intended to be done in a vacuum, right? That is not, the board doesn't, isn't planning on sitting there throwing out rules, throwing out strategies in a vacuum. So, we as the board, in doing this work, have turned to a book by a gentleman named Dan Hotchkiss, and the book is called Governance and Ministry, and it's been around a while, and it's been utilized by this congregation for a while. He talks about a cycle of ministry, and we've kind of adapted that cycle cycle to how we look at structuring our work here as well. So that adaptation of the cycle, oh no, stuck again. Come on.
It's the cable on the side, this dog that there. Oh, now it's gone.
There we go. All right. Can you see that? I'm not going to touch it again. Anyway, this is a little visual of how we envision our cycle. So you'll see on the top, we would love to have a strategic plan. We had a strategic plan. It ended in 2018. What we would like is a more flexible strategic plan, more of a rolling strategic plan, maybe like a 3-year rolling strategic plan. That would, think of it like a calendar. Say in January, a rolling strategic plan is in place. That strategic plan obviously is implemented. First, we budget based on what the congregation says our strategy should be for fulfilling our mission. Once we've budgeted, well, that's going to drive our vision of ministry, i.e. our programming. The congregation says we would really like to emphasize our social justice. We go into the budgeting process, well, let's give a lot of resources to social justice. We go into the programming portion, okay, here's how we're going to fulfill that, right? So that's all of that actually takes place after we have gathered information, input, hopes, dreams, wishes from the congregation. And it's secular, as you can see, because these conversations will happen almost year-round, right? So by the time we come back around to January and looking at our strategic plan, now that strategic plan is based on input from the congregation, and it keeps revolving and revolving around. So your input in this process is essential. It's essential. Now, you may have seen the email that was sent out recently from our task force that is going to be obtaining that input. And they're calling it Conversations with Beacon. So I hope you saw that email, and if you didn't, go back and look for it. If you still can't find it, let me know. Because that's what's going to be really, really important. That's what's going to drive this whole process. This doesn't work if we don't get input from the congregation. So you can sign up for those conversations with Beacon. They've already scheduled 4. One in May and 3 in June. So those conversations, yes, we have one of our facilities person here. One of those, so those conversations are going to happen throughout May and June right now, and when we're done with those 4, we'll figure out how to create more opportunities. All the way until we get to the point where, by the way, we do not have a rolling strategic plan in place right now. We are waiting till we gather enough input and hear from all of you as to where you want this congregation to go and how you want to fulfill our mission, okay? So that's basically the way that cycle will hopefully work. Gee whiz. Okay.
Is it frozen again?
Yeah. There's one more slide. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It really wasn't. It really wasn't very important, other than to say that the governance handbook
But that's
and this
the last
governance
slide.
cycle.
That's the last one.
Whatever. The governance cycle in this handbook grew out of the need to improve our communication with the congregation, two-way, to obtain that constant flow of input that we're hoping for, and to better extol in one place how we govern ourselves, and also to be able to better amplify our UUism, and that's really the goal. So, now that I've gone through that spiel, any questions, I'm sure, about our governing cycle?
Sorry, so the service has started, so we should turn off the mic because the sound filters up. Sorry if people, then they should move closer if they need to hear better.
So, any questions, now that we're a small group? Makes
So
sense?
these conversations are going to happen in May, June.
So, right, so this is our first year of this cycle. The conversations have been, they've put together some facilitators for the conversations, and we can task force together, which the task force will happen every year. It won't be the same people every year, but every year we'll have a task force of people that will implement these conversations throughout the year. So this year, the task force was put together. We have 2 board members, David Gordon and Jessica Park, and then we have other congregant facilitators. And they have scheduled 4 conversations so far, and once those 4 conversations, yes, they'll be held here. They're not,
On Sundays.
it's a mixture.
Yeah, there's some during the week. Look in your email. What's good about that is there's 3 questions that are going to be proposed at these conversations, and the questions are in the email, so you can sort of think about it before.
And the
you come.
questions, I must say, are jumping off points.
Yeah.
It's definitely questions for input and information that the board would love to hear, but you're not, confined. You're not confined. You have never done it. Here's David's answer.
What did I walk into?
And we were just
It was his idea.
explaining the process of
What
these
confused
conversations.
us, I mean, we were looking at each other and you said we're going to define a